All right, friends, picture it with me. I am on my horse and he is bolting full speed, orchard after orchard after orchard, and I am stinking riding him. And I just remember thinking, if I can make it home, we will be okay. I wanted to take a few minutes and share just a little bit more about our story with you. Many of you know that I was in an accident in February, and it has been kind of a crazy time for our family. And we've had lots of questions about what happened, how it happened, what's the scoop now. And so we wanted to take a few minutes and share that story with you. One of the things that we have learned through this whole experience, just been reminded of how important people are. We are so thankful for our community and our people who have come out just so much and loved us well, from all of the meals to showing up for our kids to the text messages and prayers of encouragement. We have been so grateful. It has made such a traumatic time that much better, and so we are incredibly grateful for that. One of the other things that we wanted to point out is just that we have been so thankful for the Lord's faithfulness to our family. We have experienced things that could have been so much worse. And so even though over the last 8-9 weeks we've been through a lot of trauma and a lot of pain and a lot of hard work as I've been working towards recovery, we again just acknowledge that it could have been so much worse. And my injuries, thankfully, are all things that I will recover from. And so again, we get it. We get that it could have been so much worse than it really was. So, with that being said, on February 22nd, I was in a pretty significant horse riding accident. And so I was out with a good friend of mine. We were out on horses that we had been out on before, on trails that we had been out on before. And at one point we rounded the orchard, and the specific orchard on this day, it was beautiful almond blossom. And there were a ton of bee boxes. And so our horses got a little bit jumpy, as did we. I mean, nobody likes bees, right? And so we turned around. And so when we turned around, we tried to go another way around the field. And at that specific time, it was super wet. It was just really, really wet. And so we didn't want to trample the field. So again, we turned around. And it was at that time that my other horse called out to the horse that I was riding. And so my horse lifted his head, broke pressure, and just bolted home. And I stinking rode him. I rode that horse all the way home. Orchard after orchard, full speed, bolting. And I just kept thinking okay, if I can just make it home, I will be okay. The last thing I remember thinking is, I am home. Why is he not stopping? I am home. Why is he not stopping? And there's not much, I don't remember much from that point on. I was knocked unconscious and don't remember. What we think happened is we think at full speed he was bolting and realized, oh, I'm home, and was on the lower part of the orchard and kind of bolted up the orchard bank. And it was at that point that at full speed I just couldn't stay on. And so I went over his shoulder and caught a hoof on the way down. We like to talk about little mini miracles. One of the things that we are incredibly grateful for is as I was saddled up, it's very normal for me to throw a kid on the back with me and ride out. And Jax at the last minute had his helmet on and just said, "Mom, I don't want to ride out today." And I said, "Hey, no big deal. Go home. Go back to Dad, who is in the house." It was Jared's day off, and so again, thankful that he was not with me, and it could have been a lot worse. At this point, Jared kind of fills in some of the holes for me because there's not much that I remember from the next few days. But at this point, Jared just says that he just felt kind of uneasy. And so he got up and went to go look out the back window and realized that my horse was hanging out without a rider. And so he went to go put him away. And it was at that point when he was putting him away that he heard me before he saw me. And I think it was probably pretty traumatic and kind of a little bit messy. And so at this point, we were thankful for Ripon Police Department and the fire department just responding and transporting me to a local trauma hospital. Again, just wanting to point out, we are so incredibly thankful for people. People loved us so well in ways that we never would have thought of. And so even when I was in the emergency room, as we are discovering what the extent of my injuries were, Jared had a good friend who stood in the emergency room for hours with him, just being there. And so people just being there, showing up, made all of the difference in the world. And so it was at the hospital that we realized what my injuries were. So I fractured my neck, C6. I had a hematoma, which thankfully the hematoma resolved itself resolved itself while we were at the hospital. And then also I had a skull fracture. I broke my nose. I broke my eye socket. I broke my cheek. There was a little piece that had kind of chipped off and had been moved. And then I also had a displaced fracture, 2 of them, in my jaw. And so the jaw had to be wired shut, which probably was the most traumatic and painful part, as adjusting to a whole new way of getting food and nutrition in, and a lot of pain as well. So after about 6-7 days of being at the trauma hospital, I was transferred to a Kaiser hospital and kind of went into recovery a little bit. It was while I was there that I had an incredibly bad infection in my face, and so I had to go back in for another round of emergency surgery. And so they were able to flush out the infection, and took longer than I had hoped. I think we were trying to get home. I'm a mama to 4 kids, and so it was hard to be away from them. Even though they were in incredible care, my mother-in-law stepped in and loved them well. It was still hard to be gone for so long. One of those fun stories. I mean, it was hard work while we were in the hospital, but one morning, my mother-in-law came to bring Jared coffee, and she called out to us as we were making our rounds around the 4th floor to let Jared know that the back of my gown was wide open. And my sweet husband let me walk rounds without letting me know. And so he kept saying, this is what for better for worse, this is what I've got to look forward to as I push my walker around. So we got a firsthand look of what it's gonna feel like when I'm really, really old pushing a walker around. So a few laughs, mostly at my expense. We were able to kind of take this whole thing a little bit lighthearted despite all of the trauma that we were going through. So yeah. On my way home, so after 12 days of being in a hospital, I was just on my way home and I had tears streaming down my face, and Jared just asked me what is wrong? And I just said I am grateful. I am grateful to be able to be a wife to you. I am grateful to be a mama to my kids. I am grateful to be able to walk and to talk and to do all of those things again. I'm excited to go back to work. Not right away, at that time, but I was excited to be able to have the abilities. And so, again, what could have been so much worse, we are thankful that it wasn't that much worse. Recovery has been slow. It's been a little bit slower than I'd like. I had a neck brace on. My jaw was wired shut. There were studs literally screwed into my jaw to keep everything closed. And so it took some time to kind of heal from all of that. I had a 3rd surgery to remove the studs. It was the same day while I was in the hospital having that removed that I was able to take my neck brace off. And so, it has been a little bit crazy. While I was in the hospital, though, we were very, very, very thankful for friends. I had a family and friends who came in from Southern California and down from Washington, and local friends who showed up daily with a cup of coffee or a jamba. Friends that we have walked, sometimes just walking me around the block since then has been an incredible thing. And so we, again, just want to say how thankful we are through all of this. There's been a lot of downtime over the last 9 weeks. Recovery is slow and healing is hard, but it is good work. And so just as much as the bones in my body have needed to heal, so has my heart. And so it's been good to be able to take that time. One of the things that we've been doing during this downtime is kind of working on a couple of projects, getting caught up. And then also we have just been really reminded of how important our stories are. Our stories tell us and share how much we have been through, what we have gone through. And even if I feel like our story, right? Our story is not resolved. I am still daily fighting pain, yet we still have accomplished so much of healing throughout the last 8-9 weeks. And so we have a heart to share some of those stories, to share what the Lord is doing through other people. And so we've got kind of some fun stuff planned over the next 6 months. And we are excited to share that with you. So it is with that I am incredibly grateful for all of your support, for all of your prayers. And thanks so much. If you've got any questions about anything that we've gone through, any recipes that we've had for a jaw wired shut, let me know. And again, we are so thankful for you.